Jordan Peterson has become a phenomenon. That's not an overstatement.
Trending #1 on Twitter. You're a mean, mad white man.
Jordan Peterson is the most misunderstood and misinterpreted guy in the world.
You're saying that women aren't intelligent enough to run these top companies?
No, I didn't say that at all.
He doesn't like conflict. He's a very soft-hearted, compassionate person.
He talked about how females were the essence of chaos.
You've done something that has made people upset.
And that went viral.
His video is blowing up online, getting over 250 million views.
I was Jordan Peterson's strongest supporter. Now, I think he's dangerous.
My job was threatened, my reputation was threatened, and Tammy got really sick. I've been an advocate for people to put their lives together. My life has fallen apart.
His wife was essentially dying right in front of his eyes.
Why were people attacking him in his weakest moment?
I thought I was going to die every minute of every day for about 2 years. My wife, we've been isolated from each other for a long time. I've known her since I was 8.
He was about to lose everything he loved in life.
I pretty much fell in love with her right away.
What the hell happened?
We were told something near 100% fatality rate. I hate conflict, so why do I have it all the time? One day I was delivering papers over to her house, and she was about 14, I think, so I would have been about 13, and she was sitting at the table with her friend. She was talking about marriage, and she said, when I get married, I'm never going to take my husband's name. She said, I'll have to marry some wimp, and I was in the porch, and she looked at me, she said, want to get married, Jordan? And then they both cackled away. I've known her since I was 8. She lived right across from me, and I pretty much fell in love with her right away. And I think she probably knew that right away. We spent a lot of time together when we were little kids. And so I really liked that. And all the boys were in love with her. You think kids don't have love? It's like, yes, they do. They don't know what it means, you know, but it was stark obvious. We were friends until we were about 13, and we were still kind of friends after that, but she started going out with older guys. But we would get together at Christmas because we'd both come back to this little town, and she said, you know, she knew that when she got home that I'd ring the doorbell 15 minutes after she was home. I asked her to marry me, I guess for probably the 3rd time that Christmas. We were outside after New Year's party, wild New Year's party up north and out in the swing set. That's when I asked her. Yeah. Then she said yes. I thought, God damn it, I knew she was going to say yes. It was like I'd been thinking all the Christmas vacation that was going to happen. It was like fate, you know, this is definitely going to happen. Then I asked her and she said yes. And I said I was going out with someone else and she lived somewhere else and was in a relationship with someone else. It's like, okay, now what happens? But her parents came out to Ottawa, picked her up. She broke up with the guy she was with. They put her on my doorstep, so to speak. They were actually happy about me. You think, well, you get married and you live happily ever after. But there are times in your life when you're not going to be happy. I had my own problems start to develop. And I got unbelievably ill. And I went to see the doctor and he gave me some sleeping pills because I hadn't slept at all, as far as I could tell, for weeks. I couldn't stand up. I was ice cold. My blood pressure dropped and I was fainting. So I took these anti-anxiety pills and I fell asleep. And so I kept taking them. And then all sorts of things compounded out of that, but I don't know why, really. My daughter and my son-in-law both got sick at the same time, same day. Just a cataclysm of catastrophic health issues, which we've had continually. It was certainly stressful when that happened, because that's when all that political catastrophe enveloped me. And that was extremely stressful, and at the same time the College of Psychologists was on my back, and so was the CRA. So my job was threatened, my reputation was threatened, my practice was threatened, my finances were under investigation, and Tammy got really sick. She went and had her surgery, and then we were informed the easily treatable and non-dangerous, slow-growing malignancy that we were told she had was, in fact, something fast-growing with something near 100% fatality rate within a year, regardless of treatment. And things just fell apart more and more. I continued my sort of downhill spiral and ended up in a clinic. My family has been trying to puzzle out why I've become so ill. I've been an advocate for people to put their lives together. And of course, my life has fallen apart. And so you might ask yourself, well, are you aware of the irony of that? And the answer to that is, well, absolutely. You know, it's shameful. I feel that frequently.
What you most want to be found will be found where you least want to look, essentially. And it's so interesting because it means that if you're willing to turn around and to stand up, say, and stand up straight and face the darkness like fully, what you discover at the darkest part is the brightest light. And that's something that's so much worth discovering, because there's going to be terrible darkness in your life, and it's going to make you cynical and bitter, and it could easily be that you're just not looking at it enough, because if you looked at it enough and you didn't shy away and you brought everything you had to bear on it, you'd find that there was more to you than there was to the horror. When I decided to marry Tammy, I had to talk with her about truth. I said, look, we're not going to lie to each other. If you're in on this, we're not lying to each other at all. We're going to tell the truth. And she thought about that seriously. She was on board, and I don't think she's ever lied to me.
If things are untroubled and you run into real trouble, you have a better chance of getting through it, right? It's nothing certain in life, that's for sure, but at least you're not compounding tragedy with stupidity and lies. I hate conflict. So why do I have it all the time? Well, peace doesn't happen by pretending there's no conflict. Peace happens by working through the conflict and coming up with a solution. That's really hard. And, you know, we've had a fair bit of peace, thank God for that. And with our kids, too. There was so much horror that had to be got through before there was something approximating a happy ending. Tammy recovered rather miraculously. She might be the only person in the world who survived that form of cancer. There weren't a lot of elephants under the carpet. That would have done us in. I don't think either of us would have lived if we hadn't had a relatively pristine relationship. Everything has got so surreal, and I've been so sick that we've kind of had to figure out how much I can tolerate. And so she helps me figure out what my limits are, or should be. And that was extremely helpful. It's helpful now. She's protecting her whole family by doing that in some sense. She's kind of unstoppable. It's a very rare male who doesn't feel inadequate in the face of a female that he's enamored of, you know, and it's partly because in some sense the ideal feminine shines through that person, and that's a harsh judge. You know, even if that particular person isn't a very good embodiment of the ideal feminine, that's still a lot of what the man sees. And maybe he sees right to the core of the person, you know. One of the things I've often said at weddings when people have asked me to speak is that, well, you fall in love with someone and it's just an illusion, you know, and then the reality sets in. And of course, in some ways that's true, but when you fall in love with someone, I think you see what they could be. And maybe you see that with the part of you that could be what you could be. And so that's a little divine light, you know, and it attracts us, and it makes us want to be better if we have any sense. Neither of us thought we'd get through what we got through, so we're still sort of shell-shocked that it's possible. It's not easy to keep a relationship thriving. You know, you have to be awake. And we don't take it for granted. I don't take any minute for granted.